Focusing on the aviation space, and foreign airlines may soon be allowed to buy as much as 49% in domestic carriers. The Union Cabinet is likely to take up this proposal for discussion tomorrow. Now remember, cash-strapped airlines like Kingfisher have been lobbying very hard for the entry of foreign operators into the country. We've got Devdatta Das, who joins us from Delhi with the details of what could come out of this. Devdatta, tell us, what does the final cabinet note say, and also how will this meet the SEBI takeover code?
First, the fact is that the cabinet note mentions the fact that there will be to open up 49% obviously in FDI in aviation, but at the same time it mentions that there will be no extra security screenings put in place, though 49% route will be done through the government approval route, which will automatically include Home Ministry screening and other security agency screenings of any investment coming into domestic airlines or domestic carriers. But at the same time, as earlier some reports have suggested, there will be no extra screenings put in place. But at the same time, it also mentions, when you're talking about the SEBI takeover code, how to not overtake the 49% and or trigger the 25% trigger offer, open offer trigger for the SEBI takeover code. They have come up with a 26 plus 23% equity formula, where the entire the foreign airline will begin with an open offer of 26% and then go on to acquire the remaining 23%. That is what the cabinet note mentions in order to sidetrack or not trigger off the open offer, which would ensure that the 49% could have been otherwise breached. But at the same time, as you said, if 49% FDI is allowed into aviation, it will immensely benefit cash-strapped carriers like Kingfisher, SpiceJet and Go Air. We're talking about cumulative losses of over 43,000 crore and cumulative debt of over 80,000 crore. These are huge numbers, which if FDI is allowed will possibly come down to a certain extent. But at the same time, big carriers like Jet and Indigo won't be able to make too much benefit of these the FDI opening up, given that they already have substantial exposure as far as foreign investors in their airlines are concerned.
Thanks very much, Devdatta, for giving us all those details, and you can see how all of the aviation stocks are holding up very smartly in today's session. In fact, earlier in the day, we chatted with Ajay Dua, who's the former secretary of the DIPP, who believes that this move is good for the sector in the long term.
I think it's a very desirable move because we do have in a number of places composite limits. That means FII and FDI limits would be fixed at either 74%, for instance, that's there in the telecom sector, and in commodity exchanges it is 49%. Now, to allow FII to go up to the sectoral cap gives flexibility to FIIs and would also permit greater inflows into the country. It might hit in the short run. There could be an adverse impact somewhere, particularly because the imports are now becoming very costly with the rupee's devaluation. Once again, the rupees, as we have seen in the last few weeks, is back to the range zone of 51 rupees or so. The imports had become costly, and with the high interest rates prevailing in India, people probably were importing old machinery. But now that a restriction has been put that conversion into equity will be allowed only for new equipment, new plant and machinery, and not for the old one, I think there could be a short-term and a detrimental effect. But in the long run, it's going to be good for the country.